In this video, I'm going through expanding and simplifying brackets, and this is the first video, and I'm going to do a second one with slightly harder questions. So expanding brackets means to multiply brackets. So expanding brackets means multiplying brackets. So when you see something like this, 3 brackets, 2x plus 4, it means 3 is multiplied by everything inside the bracket. Everything inside the bracket, and you can see a 2x, and you don't know what that is because you don't know what x is. It's an unknown number, but you've got 2x, and you have a plus 4. Both of these have to be multiplied, have to be timesed by 3. Now, it's really important to say that this plus means add, but it also means that this 4, this number 4, is a positive 4. So, for example, if we look at this bracket, this minus means minus, but it also means that this number is a negative number. And people confuse the two. They think a minus and a negative number are two different things. Subtract 4 and a negative 4 are very similar when we're doing calculations. They mean the same thing. Okay, so let's have a look at the first set of examples. Everything in the bracket, that's the 2x and the positive 4, has to be multiplied by 3. 3 times 2x, well, first you look at the numbers. 3 times 2 is 6, but it's not just 3 times 2, it's 3 times 2x, so it is 6x. It's basically saying 3 times 2 times x, because 2x is 2 times x. So this becomes 3 times 2 is 6 times x. I put the x and I don't put the multiplication sign between them. So 3 times 2x is 6x. 3 times positive 4 is a positive 12. Now you can use the calculator to help you. 3 times 2, you can't put x, but you can do 3 times 2. And you can do 3 times a positive 4, which is just 3 times 4. It's a 12. If it doesn't have a minus sign, it means it has a plus sign. And that's your answer. That's all you need to do. You have 6 slots of x, whatever the value of x is, plus 12. The next question is very similar, but instead of a positive 4, I have a negative 4. Again, I'm going to multiply 3 times 2x and 3 by negative 4. 3 times 2x is 6x, and 3 times negative 4, 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. So you would put minus 12. And again, that's your answer. Okay, that's it. And let's look at the next two. You've got 10 times a plus b. Again, this is a positive b. 10 times a is simply 10a. When I multiply in algebra, all I do is take this sign out and I bring them together. 10a means 10 times a. And I'm going to multiply 10 by positive b, so it's going to be a positive 10b. Next one is similar, but the a and the b have numbers next to them. So I'm going to multiply 10 by 2a. 10 by 2 I can do, and I can do with a calculator as well. 10 times 2 is 20. 10 times 2a is 20a. 10 times negative 4b, so let's highlight that, it's a negative 4, and again you can use your calculator. 10 times negative 4, you can't put the letters in, but you can put the numbers in, and you can see that it is negative 40b. Question 3. you've got x times x. Well, x times itself, anything times itself, is a squared number. So for example, 3 times 3 is 3 squared. I can find out what it is because it's a number, but it is 3 squared. It's written as 3 squared. 4 times 4 is 4 squared. 5 times 5 is 5 squared. X times x is x squared. And I can't find the value of it. I don't know what it actually equals because it's not a number. So I leave it as x squared. X times x is x squared. X times 5, it's a positive 5, is a positive, is a plus 5x. Don't write x 5. The number has to be in front of the letter. Similarly here, x times 3x. Well, x times x is x squared, and it's also multiplied by 3, so it's 3x squared. Again, you put the number at the front, then the x squared. So remember, there's an x times an x, it has to be an x squared. It's also multiplied by 3, so you put the 3 in front. And then it's x times negative 7. So the answer has to be a negative because that's a positive. It's a 1 times negative 7, negative 7x. So it's a negative 7x. Now, sometimes the number outside the bracket is the one that is negative. It's very clear that's a negative 2. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x. Again, negative 2 times x. All I do is take away this sign and put them together. Number goes first. Negative 2x. And then I'm going to multiply negative 2 by a positive 3. So I can use my calculator. Negative 2 times 3, a positive 3, is negative 6. Next question is very similar. I've got my negative 2, and I'm going to multiply it by a positive 3x. So it's a plus 3x, it's a positive 3. Negative 2 times 3x is negative 6x. Because the negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. And then notice this is not a positive number, it is a negative number. So you've got a negative 2 times negative 1. Negative 2 times negative 1, which is a plus 2. It's a positive 2. If it doesn't have a minus, it is in fact a plus. It's a positive number. Plus 2. That's your answer. Now, these are a little bit harder. They are bigger questions, so let's go through them. I've got a 4x times 2x. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 2 is 8. And I've got x times x is x squared. So that's the first multiplication. The second multiplication, 4x times 3. Well, 4 times 3 is a plus 12. And there's the x. 4 times 3 times x. Now I have a negative x. And this negative x has to be multiplied by what's in the bracket that comes after. Negative x times 6 is negative 6x. It's negative because this is a positive. Negative times positive gives a negative. And then this is a positive x. So I've got negative x times positive x is a negative x squared. Now, I hope you see that there are terms that are identical. And what I mean by identical terms is terms that have the same letter and the same power. 8x squared is identical to take away 1 minus 1x squared. So I can bring them together. I actually can simplify them. 8 take away 1 is 7 lots of x squared. So I bring these together. It's called collecting like terms. 8x squared minus 1x squared is 7x squared. But these two are also like terms. 12x, positive 12. Take away 6. And again, you can use your calculator for that. You can say 8 minus 1. And you can say 12 minus 6, which is 6. So, plus it's a positive 6x. So you don't change the powers. The powers only change when you are multiplying. But there is no multiplication here because there is no bracket. You are simply adding or subtracting numbers. So don't change the powers. The power of 2 stays the same. X to the power of 1 stays the same. Let's look at the next one. 4x times 2x is 8x squared. X times x is x squared. 4x times 1 is a positive 4x. Then I have a number, negative 3. Negative 3 times 5 is a negative 15. And there's no x's, so there's no x's here. Just negative 15. And then negative 3 times negative x. Negative times negative, remember that's a negative 1, is a positive. So plus 3x. Let's look what terms are identical. Well, 4x, that's a positive, plus 4x, plus 3x. So really I have a 4 plus 3. So I have a 7x. This is not identical, so all I do is write it down here, 8x squared. This is a positive 7, so I have to put a plus, positive 7. And then the minus 15, I just bring it here, minus 15. I can only add those two because they are alike. They have the same letter with the same power. And that's the end of this first video.